The giant snake is believed to have swallowed the Indonesian man whole, leaving villagers with the grisly task of removing him from the animal's belly. Now, these gruesome photos appear to show the moment Akbar Selebiro was pulled from the reptile's belly on a remote island. The 25-year-old had set off for work harvesting palm oil on the island of West Sulawesi, Indonesia on Sunday night. When he didn't return home, concerned friends and relatives began looking for him the following evening. On Monday night, they found the python lying in Akbar's back garden with a giant bulge in its stomach. Locals gathered around as one man used an 18-inch long hunting knife to slice open the serpent and claimed to have found Akbar's body inside. Incredible footage shows the corpse slowly removed from the killer reptile as the leathery skin is peeled away. Neighbor Setiawan, who knew Akbar, said he was found in the garden's location. Initially, Akbar set out from his home to harvest palms. After he did not return to his house, people looked for him. These shocking pictures are yet to be fully verified. Local media reported that Akbar's wife, Muni, was away at the time and only found out when pictures and video emerged of the news. One local told the Tribute to Moon they believe Akbar was attacked from behind the village, Secretary Salabiro Junaidi said. People had heard cries from the palm grove that night before Akbar was found in the snake's stomach. When the snake was captured, the boots Akbar was wearing were clearly visible in the snake's stomach. A resident cut open the belly of the snake and Akbar was lifeless. Reticulated pythons are a species found in Southeast Asia and are among the world's largest snake species. The breed squeezes prey until it suffocates, and it has been responsible for several human deaths. This wasn't the first attack from a giant python on a human in Indonesia. An Indonesian woman had been killed and swallowed whole by a 7-meter-long python, say local authorities. Though such incidents are incredibly rare, this was the second python death reported in Indonesia in just over a year. What happened to the woman? Watiba, 54, went missing last Thursday while checking on her vegetable garden on Muna Island. A massive search was mounted by local people. Her sandals and machete were found a day later, and a giant python lying about 30 meters away with a bloated belly. Residents were suspicious. The snake swallowed the victim, so they killed it. It then was carried out of the garden. Local police chief Homka told the news outlet AFP that the snake's belly was cut open and the victim's body was found inside. The footage has been circulating on social media in Indonesia, showing the woman's body recovered intact in front of a large crowd. How do pythons attack? The python is believed to have been a reticulated python. They can reach lengths of more than 10 meters and are very powerful. They attack in an ambush, wrapping themselves around their prey and crushing it, squeezing tighter as their victim exhales. They kill by suffocation or cardiac arrest within minutes. Pythons swallow their food whole. Their jaws are connected by flexible ligaments so that they can stretch around large prey. When it comes to eating humans, the restricting factor is human shoulder blades because they're not collapsible. Mary Ruth Lowe, Conservation and Research Officer for Wildlife Reserve Singapore and a reticulated python expert, told this to the BBC in an earlier interview. Pythons are almost exclusively mammal feeders. Ms. Lowe points out that they do occasionally eat reptiles, including crocodiles. Typically, they eat rats and other small animals, she said. But once they reach a certain size, it's almost like they don't bother with rats anymore because the calories aren't worth it. In essence, they go as large as their prey goes. That can include animals as large as pigs or even cows. Sometimes the size of the meal can be misjudged. In 2005, a Burmese python tried to swallow an alligator whole in Florida. It burst in the process and both died, the bodies later being found by rangers. But these opportunistic hunters can be surprisingly picky, too. If they don't see suitable prey, they can go on very little food for long periods until they see something big enough. Is this the first time a python has eaten a human? No. In 2002, a 10-year-old boy was reportedly swallowed by a rock python in South Africa. And in March last year, also in Sulawesi, a farmer was swallowed by a 7-meter-long python. The 25-year-old from West Sulawesi was on a palm oil plantation near his village when he was attacked. Video footage showed his body being extracted. Also, last year, a man from the Indonesian province of Sumatra managed to fight off a 7.8-meter-long python that attacked him while he was on a palm oil plantation. He survived with serious injuries. Previous claims often involved hard-to-prove cases that happened sometime earlier. They were reported in remote areas and without reliable witnesses. Anthropologist Thomas Tedland, who spent decades among the Agta, a group of hunter-gatherers in the Philippines, had claimed that a quarter of the tribe's men had been attacked by reticulated pythons at some point. Though almost all fended them off with machetes, adult Agta, who are physically small, were occasionally eaten, his research said. Snake expert Nia Kurniawan from Indonesian University told BBC Indonesia that pythons are sensitive to vibrations and noise from heat and lamps, so they usually avoid human settlements. The latest victim's garden was located at the base of a rocky cliff littered with caves known to be home to snakes, according to the local police chief. Even huge animals become victims of snakes. A Burmese python was filmed swallowing a whole deer at a national park in Uttar Pradesh. A hair-raising video of the incident that took place last year has now resurfaced on social media, leaving many shocked. The footage went viral after Indian Forest Services officer Parveen Kaswan shared it on Twitter 2 days ago. Burmese pythons are one of the largest snakes on Earth. According to National Geographic, they kill their prey by constriction, coiling their bodies around the animal until it suffocates. These huge snakes also possess stretchy ligaments in their jaws that allow them to swallow their food whole. In the video shared by Mr. Kaswan, the Burmese python can be seen coiling itself around a spotted deer in the Dudwa National Park and Tiger Reserve. The video was filmed last year by a Wild Lens, who shared it on YouTube with the caption, "Burmese python killed the spotted deer and started swallowing. We were at the right place and banged on time." Mr. Kaswan described the scene as unbelievable while sharing the video on Twitter. Imagine there's a species that has a large range of different genetic and behavioral characteristics. Some are smart, some are brave, some are aggressive, some fast, and some contemplative. Just like the diversity that exists within the human race, this species also has similar levels of diversity of personality, and what they eventually teach their own children and grandchildren. Then, this dominant species suddenly appears and takes over the planet, and they're everywhere. The most relaxed, docile, least aggressive members of the species are killed and eaten, captured and made into pets, or put on display in zoos. This happens for generations and generations and generations. The behaviorally relaxed and chilled are constantly taken out of the picture over hundreds and thousands of years. And members of that species are the ones that remain in the wild in the long term. The ones that hide the most, the ones that run at the first sign of trouble, or the ones that fight if they feel threatened or are cornered. These characteristics become so prevalent that we actually start thinking that they define the species itself. Instead of the members of that species with other traits that will gradually remove over long periods and not be able to pass on their genes and behaviors, now think about all the species in the world, members of each species that were intelligent enough to exploit the systems. What we created caused us the most problems, so we killed them because they were troublesome, leaving only the dummies. The members of the species that were most relaxed and not worried about humans were the ones captured for our zoos and slaughtered for meat or fur or tusks, leaving only the cautious and prone to flee or hide. And on and on and on it went until humans' impressions of species overall were changed. The remaining members passed on specific genes and taught their young only specific behaviors, creating a much more limited range of behaviors within that species. This has happened to almost every single species that hasn't gone extinct yet on our planet, including snakes. The members within that species that would never attack a human for any reason are pretty much gone, because the ones that would represent that aspect were removed by our ancestors and us. Contrary to popular belief, pythons do have teeth, lots of them, but they're more suited to holding on rather than chewing or cutting. Snakes don't have firm jaw pressure or bite force, so when they bite, there's no real force to it, but the teeth are very sharp. Snakes, like any other animal with a mouth, can bite if they're trying to get food or if they're frightened because they see bigger animals as predators that may try to eat them. They'll defend themselves with the only protection they have, their teeth. Not all snakes have fangs or venom. The majority of snakes are non-venomous. In addition, venomous snakes are often reluctant to use their venom for defense because the poison is something they have to put energy into in order to produce, and therefore have to get more food in order to make more. It's mostly for hunting their prey. Most snakes, in my experience, are relatively reluctant to bite humans, even the venomous ones, because we're too big to eat, and they'd rather run from a threat if possible rather than throw their face towards it.